Game week 4 was another disastrous one for me, so we'll briefly review that and then we'll have a look at my transfer plans as I'm thinking about using the wildcard soon. Okay, so as you can see on screen, 58 points for me. I've got 5.1 million in the bank. We'll talk about the transfer I did this week in a bit. I think my rank is somewhere in the 6 million, I think it is roughly. It's pretty bad. I mean, I don't think I've had a start this bad in FPL for a long time. Certainly not since I've been playing seriously. I mean, it is a disastrous start. But the defence did well. I mean, firstly, Kelleher in goal. Didn't expect much from him. As I mentioned in my team selection video, the fixture wasn't great, but I wasn't going to use a goalkeeper transfer to get someone with a better fixture. The defenders were brilliant. Now, people were selling Spurs defenders this week. I didn't really get that. I think that was a bit of an overreaction from 1, the game against Bournemouth, 2, West Ham playing well against Forest. We saw Spurs go back to being defensively solid and West Ham being useless again. So I was fine with that. And obviously Van de Ven scored a goal, got a clean sheet, 14 points. Pedro Porro not involved too much, but 6 points. And then Chris Richards with 6 points. The defence was brilliant. Midfield, not so much. Bruno Fernandes, in all honesty, this was 1 week where he's not really to blame. I wasn't expecting loads from him against City. Harvey Elliott was my transfer in. So if you watch my team selection video, you will know that I was planning to do Sarta Semenyo and then Gui to Mateta. Now, I'm kind of glad I didn't really do that in the end, I'm glad I didn't do both of those moves anyway. And if I was going to do one of them, it probably would have been the Gui to Mateta move, not the Sarta Semenyo. So, yeah, I'm annoyed I didn't get Semenyo, but I'm not annoyed that I didn't do both moves. And if I was going to do one, I wouldn't have done that one. So I went for Elliott just because I liked his fixtures for the next few and I wanted someone much cheaper. That's why I didn't go for Semenyo. I wanted someone cheaper for future moves, which now look unlikely, but we'll talk about that in a second. Basically, I went for Elliott. He was a bit of a risky one. I didn't obviously know if he'd start or not. I was just hoping he'd start and he didn't. That's fine. Not too annoyed about that. I mean, I think he's quite a good option going forward, albeit Aston Villa are just terrible. Seriously bad. Like, they didn't even look like scoring a goal. It's not like they created chances and missed them. They literally didn't create anything. They haven't created anything. It's awful. That being said, I can't see Harvey Elliott not getting a start next week now because of that. So that's not so bad, I guess. Salah captain, saved the day. I mean, it's just lucky, isn't it? There's no way around it. It is just lucky. A last minute penalty again. Very lucky. Reinders, I wasn't expecting loads this week. Again, 3 points. Verts is just stinking it up. Seriously stinking it up. I really want to just throw him out the team, but it just doesn't make sense this week. I'll talk about my plans anyway, but how disappointing has he been? Watkins, the less said about him, the better as well. It's not great. Thiago actually played pretty well, and at 6 million, I'm not expecting a goal every single game, so I don't hate that. On the bench, Dubravka, the bench didn't get any points basically. Murillo went off with a bit of an injury, which is a slight worry given my plans now. So the last time I spoke, I was talking about doing a free hit in game week 6 and then a bench boost in game week 8. Plans have changed slightly now, and we'll talk about that once I've gone through how my team is set up for game week 5. Okay, so, I mean, in goal, neither of them are great, but neither of them are that bad either. Fulham away for Kelleher and Dubravka is Nottingham Forest at home. I don't really know which one I'll start out of those two, but actually it probably won't matter too much. We'll get into that anyway. Defenders, Porro, Brighton away. Van de Ven, Brighton away. Don't hate that at all. The Brighton attack has looked okay, but nothing unbelievable. And the Spurs defence just looks solid at the moment, so I'm fine with that. Murillo, Burnley away. Murillo could be a bit of a problem. He did go off injured. I think I read somewhere on X after the game that I don't think it's going to be that serious. I hope that's true. But yeah, not ideal given that I kind of would need or at least want him to be fit for Burnley away. That's one of the reasons I kept him, for example. Richards with West Ham away. He's obviously fine to start if Murillo is not fit for that game. And actually, so is Esteve with Nottingham Forest at home. I mean, Forest haven't been great going forward in the last few weeks, so I don't hate starting Dubravka, Esteve or Richards. I don't hate any of that. And that is one of the reasons that I'm thinking about using the bench boost this week. I'll talk about that in a second once we've gone through the rest of the team. The midfield is Fernandes of Chelsea at home. Fernandes is a guy that I just think you can play in any single fixture. He can get DEFCON points. I mean, didn't look great for DEFCON points against Man City, but that's fine. You're not going to get DEFCON points in every game. I just think he is someone that you can play in every game, basically. Harvey Elliott obviously has Sunderland away. I mean, fixtures don't matter too much for Aston Villa, given that they can't score against anyone. So, yeah, it's a good fixture, obviously, but Aston Villa are so bad. Salah will be my captain with Everton at home, obviously. Although, again, he really hasn't looked good. He really didn't look good against Burnley at all. Him and Wirtz really stunk it up. Wirtz is obviously on my team there. Reinders has Arsenal away. Again, not an ideal fixture, but I'm kind of fine with playing him, if I'm honest. I mean, I don't think that Arsenal are the best defence in the league. That goes without saying. But City are looking pretty good going forward. So I'm kind of fine with playing him. And then the forwards are Watkins with Sunderland away. Again, I can't sell him at this point, annoyingly, because the fixture is just good, but they have been astronomically bad. Like, they haven't scored a goal in 4 games. I know I keep going over it and talking about it, but no goals in 4 games is crazy. Anyway, Thiago with Fulham away, pretty good fixture, and then Gui on the bench with Man United away. So now we'll get into the interesting stuff and my plans. So I mentioned that my original plan was free hit in game week 6 because I don't have Haaland and I want Haaland for that week. And then bench boost in game week 8 because Burnley have got a really good fixture. Or most of my team have got a really good fixture in that week. Now, my plans have changed slightly. And the reason I liked free hit game week 6 because Man City play Burnley. I don't have Haaland. I want Haaland as captain for Burnley. I think it's Burnley at home as well. So that I want Haaland for that game, but my thinking up until this point was that outside of game week 6, I'd rather have Salah in my team than Haaland. My thinking has changed on that now. Haaland looks so on it, Salah looks so off it, that now my thinking is that I am quite happy to change to go from Salah to Haaland on a longer term basis. Not this week though. Obviously, Man City play Arsenal away. Salah has Everton at home, meaning that I do prefer Salah for this week, even though he's been useless and Haaland has been really good. I do prefer Salah for this week. So, but yeah, like I say, my thinking has changed in that I now think I want Haaland over Salah longer term. So rather than free hitting in game week 6, it makes more sense to wildcard in game week 6. And keep the free hit for later on. I do think we need to keep one of the free hit or wildcard chip for later on because there's some nonsense with Palace fixtures that could happen. A lot can happen down the line. I think keeping one of the chips is a really good idea. But I think that a wildcard now in game week 6 looks pretty good. You can get Haaland in, obviously. Another good thing about that is that I can keep Salah for this week. So if I wildcarded this week, I'd probably want to go for Haaland and not Salah, but Haaland has Arsenal away, Salah has Everton at home. Doesn't make sense to do that switch this week. Now, I could use transfers to do that switch, of course. I've got 2 transfers and I would have 3 next week if I didn't make a move here. I've also got 5.1 million in the bank, so I can do Salah to someone and then Gui up to Haaland. But I think it just makes sense to switch some other players around, like Watkins, for example. He can then become Gyökeres potentially going forward, because I know I want him going forward. Wirtz, again, can become someone like Palmer if I can get him up to Palmer, maybe. And these are kind of players that I don't necessarily want to switch for this week. I mean, like I say, Wirtz and Salah haven't been great, but I can keep them for this week with a good fixture, then move them on. Gyökeres is not someone I particularly want this week because he's playing City, but I want longer term. So it makes sense to get through this week and then wildcard. Now, with that in mind, and as I mentioned when I was talking about the defenders, my bench are all, Dubravka with Forest at home, Esteve with Forest at home. Forest aren't exactly a great attacking side right now. Richards with West Ham away. West Ham are a terrible attacking side right now. Ignore Gui for now because I can use a transfer to move him out. But my bench all looks quite good for this week. Now, Murillo could be a problem as well if he's injured, but I've got 2 free transfers here. So I can, if Murillo's injured, I can swap him out for someone. Gui is definitely going to have to be someone I transfer out. But I can get to quite a reasonable bench boost here. Now, there are players who aren't ideal this week. Reinders of Arsenal away isn't ideal. Obviously, having Gui and having Murillo here isn't ideal. If I wasn't going to bench boost, then I would just kind of roll and deal with these players in my team. But given that I am now thinking about wildcarding in game week 6, I think it makes sense to get the bench boost out of the way in game week 5, so that then on my wildcard, I don't then have to think about the fact that I need a good enough bench at some point in the future. So I can wildcard knowing that I don't need much of a bench going forward. Now, I'll have players on the bench that I can use because I just like to anyway. I think that's a good strategy. But I don't need to focus on having a full good playing bench for whenever I want a bench boost. So I think given that my team is pretty close enough to getting a good bench boost for this week, I think I'm going to potentially use it. Now, like I say, that will involve selling Gui up to someone. Now, I haven't looked loads into who this will be yet. I don't particularly, I'll basically just look at the fixtures and go from there. I mean, with West Ham away, it could be Mateta. It could be Ekatike if I don't think Isak's going to start again. There's a couple of options. And then I'll either roll, if Murillo's fit, roll the second free transfer. Or I can then do Murillo to somebody else who's got a good fixture. Because I only need both of these guys for 1 week. So I can literally just pick a couple of guys that I think are good for this 1 week and get them in and then not have to worry about wanting them long term. So that's my thinking. I've rambled on a little bit there, but I hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions on my team, then let me know in the comments. If you've got any questions on my plan, let me know in the comments. If you've got any questions on your team, let me know in the comments. But for now, that is all. Tomorrow's video will be transfer trends. Now, this is a new video that I did for the first time last week. Wasn't as useful because I did it on the Friday, but I think doing it earlier in the week, like a Monday, is going to be really useful. So look out for that. But that is all for this one. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.